Suranga?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I have flashed my screen. Is it possible? Is it visible? Lecture
Yes,
6.
yes, yes.
I think lecture 6, we have to do part B. Let me see. Yeah. It's part B. It's not changed. Yeah, it's part B. Uh, Let me, I have not uploaded. Let me quickly upload that. Let me see whether I have uploaded lecture C part B. Let me see. Yeah, create lecture 6 part B. Okay. Okay, I have uploaded now. So lecture slides are uploaded to the uh, tiny URL. So I have flashed my screen. I hope you can see it. So today we are going to discuss, I think last week on lecture 6, we discussed functional areas of IT operation and the web infrastructure. So today we are going to look at IT systems communication and software licensing and system that support routine process. From audit purposes, for the CIA, it's very important, how the software licensing works, because you have to audit whether the companies are using the license model, whether you're complied with those licenses. So you have to have a fair idea about software license. So that's the purpose. They have included this also into the part of the syllabus. And also you need to audit the system support and support routine processes, how the systems are being supported, IT systems. So that's what we are going to discuss today. I hope the screen, I have flashed my slides. I hope you can see my slides.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can see.
Okay. So the first part, functional area of IT operation and the web infrastructure, we have covered already last week. So let's first look at the IT system communication and software licensing model. So what is system software? System software performs the fundamental tasks needed to manage computer resources. The most basic piece of system software is operating system. I think you all know that in a PC or a laptop, there is a desktop operating system. So every desktop, you have to see whether they are carrying the desktop or laptop. So they have this operating system, OS. So that can be Windows 10 or Windows 11, or it can be Linux. If it is Apple machines, the Mac OS, Macintosh OS. So these are the Linux. Also, you have different flavors. So these are the basic operating system if you're talking about a desktop. So this is very important to perform these tasks, to see whether system softwares are up to date. because let's say if anyone is using Windows 7 or something like that, now those are EOL. Every software they declare the end of life. End of life. So what is that end of life? So I mean these are for the desktop software. So end of life means end of support. So first they declare the end of support. You know. So then after that only end of life. Then so end of support means they no longer support that old version. Like for example, Windows 7, they may not support. So what do you mean by the support? They may not release the updates and patches, the security patches, various things they may not release now because they have given a time period. Till then, you can use Windows 7. After that, they stop releasing the patches and updates and things like that. So it doesn't mean that you can't use it. If you have a Windows 7 machine, you can use it, but it is not up to date. The software is not up to date. So the support is not there from Windows. So if there is any problem, you can even write to Windows or call Microsoft Office or log the entry and ask for a support. You can't do that. Another issue comes up is if you use the old operating system like Windows 7 or Windows 95, the security of that operating system kernel is not so good. I mean, that was good at that time, but now the problem is we have modern hackers, so the hackers trying to hack the operating system. So those are which was designed, 6, 7 years back was not good enough to, sustain for current attacks. So even if you load the latest virus guards and, other security stuff onto that Windows 7 PC, the operating system itself is a weak. So then it can't protect by the virus guard alone. So that's the reason you have to update. So it's like this, very simple example. Like, now we all live in Sri Lanka, has some sort of a immunity system. But our immunity system may be not sufficient sometimes if you just go and live it to a very crowded cities like Chennai. You might get, runny nose or fever or something because the population is too high in Chennai. And if you just walk in the city, especially not Chennai, even Calcutta, if you go to, so it's very tough. I mean, you probably get some sort of a diseases, it'll take little bit of a time to settle down, to live little longer. But then your immunity system again will get better when you live in a very crowded city. Um, but if you take a person from Himalayas, a yogi or somebody in a Himalaya, if you take it to Colombo, and his immunity system is even much more weak because he was living in a Himalaya and fresh air, no virus, no bacteria, so he does not have a time to increase the immunity system. I mean, it's very simple. Now, when you have influenza, moment they go to nursery, I mean, when they were at home, yes, they are okay, but their immune system has not improved because they're not exposed much. Probably you might take for trips and all that. But they are not in a very crowded areas. They were not exposed. So, but moment they go to nursery, that they get all fever, every disease, started coming, spreading from other students. But then what happened? Slowly their immunity system will improve. So then they can withstand, So, I mean, initially you get all these problems, but after that it's all right. So same way the yogi person, if he comes to Colombo from Himalayas, he might get infected with viruses and bacteria, I mean, very easily because his immunity system is not good. So that you have to admit into hospital sometimes, but then doctors also very find it very difficult to give the medication because he's not still not come up to the other patient's immune system. So that therefore sometimes you have to do a little bit of a test, certain things, because from gut feeling, you can't just give the medicine based on simple diagnostic. Um, the same way, if you have old operating system, it will not support the today's viruses. So you got to update. So that's another reason. But it's not so easy. I mean, as auditors, it's not so easy because if you try to update the desktop operating system in your bank or any company, the application vendors say still we are not supporting. So we are not, I mean, let's say if you're trying to upgrade Windows 10 to Windows 11, if the application vendor said my client part is not ready for Windows 11, then you can't upgrade to 10 to 11. So you have to make sure take an inventory of application because you are not keeping the machine as it is. No, you are not only running Microsoft Office and basic software. You have run some application software. Let's say if you are a bank, if the core banking vendor said, so my application is not supporting Windows 11, so then you have to keep it Windows 10 till you get ready with Windows 11 client part to install into your machine. So some applications are there, it's a browser based, so that it may not much affected by the operating system, but still there can be impact. So you have to plan out your upgrades. But then, so same way on these are desktop operating system, even the servers is another challenge. If you have servers will have Windows server version, or if servers can be very high-end server like IBM AS400, which runs OS 400. So like that, different operating systems are there. So everything when you're updating, you need to manage. You have to see software. Is that clear, or you need any explanation for this?
No, it's clear.
Okay. The operating system is a combination of programs that coordinate the action of the computer, including the peripheral devices and memory. So it coordinate all the machine memory and peripheral devices like printers, scanners and stuff like that. So OS is the most reason. I mean, ZOS is the most recent operating system of IBM mainframe. If you're using very high-end servers like IBM mainframe, I mean, I don't think currently in Sri Lanka, no one is using the mainframes. Mini computers are sufficient. So the mini IBM mainframes operating system is a DOS or COS. The server operating system like Unix, Linux, Microsoft Windows Server, or Apple Mac OS Server, inherent networking capabilities are the important part of the server operating system. So they have the networking capabilities. So they support various networking technologies like Ethernet, Giga Ethernet, Fast Ethernet, all that. So Microsoft Windows, Apple Mac OS, and Linux are the operating system for desktop computers. So I mean, this is you probably go up to the computer, but you may not go up to the phones when you're doing auditing because the phones are more personal. But phones also they will audit when you're installing apps and things like that, whether they are in the current OS, because that also there's a vulnerabilities are there when you load the application into phones, smartphones especially. The IT system communication. So the system software, as I told you, operating systems, controls over the operating systems are essential because they may affect the entire database. So system software is important because that may affect the databases. These controls include segregation of duties. So what are the controls you're going to put it on the for system software? Segregation of the duties. A person who is approving to do the change and the person who is doing that change should be separate. The system programmer should not allow to perform application programming. So the people who is doing system programmers, the system changes, they are not allowed to do the application programming. So application programming guys are different and the system programmers are different. So, and you have to do testing before the use. So any application or any system software, you have to test it. So making backup plans. It's very important to backup means the plans that the documents all actions to be taken to restore the service or a service component if the association change or release fail. So once you put the new change or release fail, backout plans this is not backup plans, backout plans. So you will be able to reverse it back to the previous one. Or it can be fully fail or partially fail once you deploy. So backout plans may provide a full or partial reversal. So backout plans should provide full reversal or partial reversal and implementing changes in off hours. So normally you don't do the changes in when you're full peak hours, off hours. So keep in detail log of all changes. So you need to, what are the controls you have to put? You have to have a logs of all changes so that you're aware about the changes. So this is what, from the audit point of view, it's important. Segregation of duty, testing before use, making backout plans, and keeping detailed logs of changes. So other controls include error notification of failed hardware and detection of abnormalities. So you have to monitor every time the software whether it has error notification, include error notification of failed hardware or detection of abnormality. So the failed hardware detection, abnormalities, there are tools. From those tools, you can do it. For every server machine, the server vendor will provide certain tools to do hardware diagnostics. I mean, you don't have to call the vendor to see, but there are alerts that is coming up proactively on those server machines for before it fails. I mean, for servers, you can have, otherwise what you can do is you can get the alerts from that server model, or you can have, common network, common management software, IT management software like HP OpenView. So HP OpenView is not only supporting HP, any device in the network, even the routers, switches, any type of a server, they will alert you if there are failures. So it can alert SMS you, it can email you or whatever. So pre-failures you can identify or post-failures. So error notification is important, So that's for the server, high-end machine servers. You can have a management solution of, and alerting messages, but for a desktops also, you can probably have applications. Normally, if you buy branded ones, Lenovo comes with ThinkVantage. So Lenovo come with a software called uh, ThinkVantage. So this ThinkVantage is a very good software that you can manage the desktop. I'm talking about desktop servers. Servers has its own tools. HP comes with the HP uh, Service Assistant. So from that you can manage. So let me just show you in my computer. I have HP Support Assistant. So you run the HP Support Assistant. Hope you can see it. So it gives you a dashboard about the entire computer. When you run that. So these type of tools, every branded vendor will provide. So it's important to install in machines, and diagnose from that. So this gives you any updates you can click, and that gets from the HP update, because Windows updates you can get it from Windows, but these machines also need to be updated. The firmware of the machine, the flash, the BIOS has to be updated. So those updates you have to do it with this better, when you use the HP machine, HP support assistant. For Lenovo ThinkVantage, like that, softwares are there. I mean, it comes free of charge with the machine. You can download. So any issues, network, audio, optimize your computer performance, because this optimization also you have to do it, because the in the file system you are correcting so many, the temporary files. So you can check the operating system. You can run the hardware diagnostics. Component level, you can do the diagnostics. So these tools gives you a better view. Even if you want to get the device specification, you can get what is your device specification very easily. The serial numbers, product numbers, sometimes it's very difficult to see from the back, the serial numbers and the product numbers. So we can get the report and extract it. And then, of course, internet is slow. So you can basically do that work with desktops. But servers comes with a better tools, but you can use a common tool like HP OpenView or any management solution, so it can manage your entire, not only the computer servers, even from routers, switches, the entire network equipment, printers, everything. So this we are looking at, the system software. So we looked at system software, the operating system, then we looked at the controls. So now internal auditors should review the controls over the operating system. So they have to review. They should monitor change procedures and determine whether system programmers have sufficient training, whether they can do that proper job. Have they gone through the sufficient training? The operating system is up to date and error tracking system exists. So these things internal auditors has to make sure whether there is error tracking system. If the programmers are not doesn't have the sufficient training, that there's a danger. So they can delete the files on the hard drives. They can format the hard drive by mistake. So then you can't blame if a person doesn't know anything. He just go to C and put the format command and say yes. I mean, this desktop operating system, you can do it. So then you lose the data. So a computer program is a set of instructions that directs a computer to perform certain tasks and produce a certain result. So that's on the system software. Now, what's the difference? I mean, system software is the operating systems and stuff like that. System software. Application software means what? Any application. For banking, there are so many applications. For banking, treasury management, AML, card management system, ATM switch. So you name it. Maybe 30, 40 application softwares are there for bank. Same way, if you go to hotel industry, they have application. But the system software is the operating systems. Then you have utility programs. The utility softwares, what they do? So they do file and folder management, utility software. Backup, system restore they can do. They can do compression. They are like even virus guards, virus scanners and cleaners are utility programs. Utility. They are like utilities, like electricity, things like that, utility. And encryption, decryption tools they provide. And disk management, disk fragmentation, and data cleanup. So what do you mean by the disk fragmentation? Disk fragmentation means when you put it into a disk, copy the disk. Every disk, hard drives has this concept called, these are called tracks. Okay, tracks and sectors, the concept. The sectors are like this. So it's divided into tracks and sectors. So this is called a track. Start from track 0. And this is called a sector. So how do you locate a data piece? So you go to the track number and the sector number. And if you put the data, you know that this is track 5, sector this. So, I mean, there are so many tracks. I mean, I just looked at exaggerated only tracks I have done it, but it's so close. So, because these are majority of them are earlier, previously magnetic. Magnetic. So, magnetic is they store it this way. Flash drives it's different technology. So I'm talking about so this is spinning. I mean, the magnetic disc are spinning, and the head moves to the point and read the data. But what will happen is over the years, you go and put the data. One data is here, another data is here. So here, another data. So they are so much fragmented. I mean, these data are frequently required, but they are one in here, one in there, and one in a separate location. So defragmentation, what they do is they'll bring this data to a close proximity. If it is frequently accessing data, what they do is, okay, instead of every place, here that data is there, the other data is here, and then the other data is here. So instead of fragmented. So this fragmentation tools, data cleanup, data cleanup means, you erase, unwanted temporary flies and stuff like that. So these are utilities. Yeah. So utilities are virus guards, these software. So utility are called privileged software. So utilities perform basic data maintenance tasks such as sorting, arranging all records in a file by invoice number, merging, combining the file from two files into one, copying and deleting entire files. Those are utilities. So sometimes you might ask, okay, I don't know whether I have put a. So why this copying and deleting file utility is required? Copying and deleting files is there in a Windows itself. No? You have a copy command and delete command. So then why do you want to have another utility to do that? No, the Windows copy and delete command is sometimes not fast. And sometimes it gives problems. I'll explain you why it is giving problem. So therefore, the different vendors has developed the software for copying and deleting. I'll explain that in the next slide. Okay. So utilities are extremely powerful. For instance, utility programs could be used to read files that contains all user access codes for the network. A control feature to negate these vulnerabilities is an encrypt password before storing them on a file. So utility softwares are there to encrypt. I mean, passwords are not kept it as a plain text encrypt. In any case, the use of utility program should be restricted to appropriate personnel, and each occurrence should be locked. So the utility program should be restricted, because if you are keeping the password, then authorized person only restricted. And every time he logs in, that has to generate a log file, so that it tells, this time only he logs in and this person, and copy that program or something like that. There should be a log. So these logs are easy to get it on the server computers, but in desktop operating systems, very difficult. You don't not normally maintain much logs. So I told you that, copying and deleting also you have utilities. So this one utility software is called TerraCopy for Windows. You can download TerraCopy for Windows from this site. And there's a link. The TerraCopy is a lightweight yet robust copy and pasting programs that can transfer large files from one location to another. So TerraCopy is one of the best alternative in inbuilt default Explorer, and the interface make the entire process quick and easy to execute. I'll tell you the problem with Windows copy. So Windows by default, what you get a copy is, I mean, when you try to copy from, let's say, C part, what do you call data, and then uh, let's say Sanjeev, and then I said, okay, lectures, and then I said, okay, CIA part 3, and then I said lecture 6B. Now this is a big part. I have a folder like structure like that. So then what will happen is, when you use copy and paste command, sometimes Windows copy command will not go to many subparts as so it stopped there. I mean, it has a limitation. I mean, if you're creating a subroots, uh, subroots, subfolders, then subfolders, too many, uh, uh, too many subfolders are not supported by Windows copy. So Windows copy does not support too many subfolders. So when you copy, sometimes you realize that the copied one has a less size of files than the original one, because there are some files missing. So if there are so many subfolders, Windows copy does not have a capability to pick up all these files. And beyond some point, it will not copy. I mean, it's a small problem. I don't know why that is there. I mean, why not Windows develop a tool and put it as operating system? I'm not sure. Have you ever experienced when you copy files from Windows and paste it into another place? You were not sometimes got copied everything in from there, especially when you back up to a hard drive or something like that, external. Have you experienced such problem? Anyone has?
Sure.
Okay. So you just looked at in Windows, if you have too many subfolders and copy that part into another place and see the sizes of the two sides. So whatever you copied is less and it will not pick up. But then you have to have many subfolders. Huh? I mean, if it is one or two subfolders, then it will pick it up. So therefore, that's what we recommend if you're not using these type of tools like TerraCopy, then you have to zip that and copy as a one file. If you zip it and copy, then no problem because then zip is just a one file. No, you're copying inside zip. You have the folder structure. Okay. So then other system software is the GUI, graphical user interface. It's a link to a system that allow users to use this icon. I mean, you can download this Terra copy from this link. And then I mean you observe this one, I mean don't do it, so if you have too many subfolders in your this thing, you try to copy and paste into some other place and go to properties and check the folder size. I mean this is the way you can do it. So you copy. Now for example, if I copy, a lot of people told me this one, so then okay, even this is, so let me see if I copy. So if I go to my folder structure, that will not be able to copy by if I say lecture, so any subject, so let's say if it is human resource management, then I have to see okay which University of Wales, then I have to say which semester, and then handouts, whatever. So now this is a big structure. So then what will happen? I have to see whether this one when I copy and paste. Sometimes it will not paste properly. So then you just practice that. So what I do is I use now Terra copy because of this headache. Okay. So GUI, graphical user interface, is a link to a system. So that's the reason, they said, copying and deleting entire file utility, so if copying and delete entire files, if it is working perfect with the operating system, then you don't have to have that. So a graphical user interface is a link to a system that allows users to use icons, buttons, windows, and menus rather than command words to initiate processing. So GUI is simply the process of moving data from one application to another. So copy a chart from a spreadsheet and pasting the chart into word processing document, So you can do that with the GUI. So it's just copy paste, that you do it. But in good old days, we didn't have the GUI. So we had to go to like a DOS. We had this command prompt, so that you have to just go to this command prompt and say, okay, copy. So copy, let me see, question mark, yeah, 05. So copy from the colon, slash, and then I have to give a path and then to, let's say, D colon, So like that only I have to use the syntax, whatever part, So that was not very user friendly. But now since we have a GUI, that's not required this type of commands to use, exit. Right. You have graphical icons, buttons, it's easy. So then you have network equipment. So now we have studied the system software and the utility part. Now we look at the network equipment. So the network consists of the hardware devices being connected and the medium through which the connection is made. So hardware device being connected is, you have seen this, the popular network interface card which goes into a desktop computer. So this is a PCI connector. So this just slot it into this desktop computer, and what you can see is outside this Ethernet port. So this Ethernet port is the hardware device being connected. You connect the cable here. The medium through which the connection is made, this cable medium, can be copper, UTP category 5 or whatever, Cat 5, or it can be fiber. So, or maybe it can be, if we have a wireless port here, it can be Wi-Fi. So any media. So medium in which the connection is made. It can be physical wire, then the wire can be copper or fiber. If it is a wireless. So whatever the medium. So client devices, wireless also, Wi-Fi is a normal wireless network, but closed devices you can connect through a Bluetooth also. Maybe within 10 feet, you can connect two devices through Bluetooth. You can connect your phone to the laptop by Bluetooth. Your sound system can be connected by Bluetooth. It's like a personal area network. So Bluetooth is called a PAN, personal area network. Wireless network is called a local area network. So client devices of all sizes and functions, the mainframes, laptop computers, personal digital assistants, the PDAs or tabs, MP3 players, printers, scanners, cash registers, ATMs can be connected to a network. So connecting a device to a network requires a network interface card, which I have shown on top of the picture. The NIC allows the devices to speak that particular network's language. That is called a protocol. So the network language is called protocol. So language in IT, we call it a protocol. So why? Because same language, only two computers have to talk. So if we are using TCP/IP, we call it TCP/IP. It's a protocol. IP address is there for every unique device. So the client devices, development in the late 1990s, called the thin client, explicitly mimics the old mainframe and the terminal model. In the old mainframe computers time, I showed you last time, it's not connecting a non-intelligent terminal. It's called a dumb terminal. But in late 90s, what happened? The PCs became so popular. And then people thought, do we really record PCs in office, So in 1990s, we face a big difference, and even early 2000. The PCs consume a lot of electricity. So in early 2000, we were using PCs. No? So PCs electricity consumption is about 140 watts for a desktop, another 60 watts for the monitor. So it's almost 200 watts. So 200 watts electricity consumption for a desktop is a huge consumption. Not only that, this device produces a lot of heat so that the air conditioning has to cool it down. So normally when we calculate the air conditioning those days, if you have a 10 computers and 10 people, the aircons, you have heard about the measurement is BTU. So BTU measurement, you have to do it, let's say 10 computers and 10 people is equivalent to, 30 people. Okay, no, 30 people. Why? 10 computers, you have to multiply by each computer produce a heat of 1.5 units. So 10 computers means 15 people. So, yeah, 10 means yes, 15. So 15 plus 10 is a 25, sorry, a 25 people. So when you have 10 people, actually with 10 computers, you have to do the BTU calculation of the aircon for 25 people. The whole place get heated up. So the energy goes out burnout by the computer is too high, and also the air conditioner cooling. So this was a big problem. And second is PC is not so secure. That means you can copy it from the memory stick if you have a business application. Normal PC is not secure, so anybody can take a screenshot, take this thing dump and all that, copy from the USB stick. So in a business environment, insurance or banking or any critical, the customer information can go out easily because people can take copy it into a memory, and the company's information also. So if you want to secure it, I mean, there are a lot more things you have to do it for the PC to secure it. You have to lock the USB drives by third-party softwares, network admission control. You have to implement it every time when you connect to the network. You have to disable the ports and the hard drive access. So you have to do so many. I mean, there are softwares where you can do network admission control. But people realize because of the energy cost and all these unwanted costs and the what price, why do you want a PC? So they decided to go for thin client computers. Thin client. So thin client device is like this, and it has a flash memory, an operating system. It's a embedded operating. Windows release every time embedded operation. So Windows embedded 10 is there. You can load that. It's a very light operating system. So it boots up. This computer, the monitor or computer get boots up and it displays on the monitor. But really, actually, not much processing is done by this thin client. It's connected to the server, uh, and then through the server only everything works. But this has a little processing, but it will be more on server centric computing, and that uses to make it a less bandwidth. It uses a very tiny packets. Actually, it's not data. It's like keyboards, key strikes will be going to the server. And it uses the RDP protocol. That means, terminal services protocol. So by using that, you can make it very thin and low bandwidth. You can use the machine. So this is thin clients became so popular. Any of you all use thin client computers in your offices at that time? No, only desktops, is it?
Mainly desktop,
Hmm?
mainly desktop, right? It's not that thin client.
Okay, only desktops, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So some companies use thin client, and in fact, I was doing thin client when I was at Sumati Information Technologies. These are some of the advertisement. I just put one. And we sold quite a lot number of thin client computers for some banks like People's Bank, NSB, I mean, all the machines they deploy and they save quite a lot of money, and with the power consumption, this thing. Um, so they were using it. And right now also different vendors are there, like this Chinese Centum thin clients I have seen. Around 10,000 machines are sold in Sri Lanka, and it's operational right now in various banks and insurance companies, Centum, brand of thin client. So, but majority of them are now using the PCs also, because now actually this power consumption problem is not there. Early it was 200 watts, on the desktop. Now it's came down because of the Core i series processors. So Core i series processors, let's say Core i3 or Core i5. Let's say Core i, you have a 5 processor. This 5 cores, you can on it, off it. So if you are not heavily processing, you can work with 1 core. So therefore, the power consumption is lesser. So because of that reason, now you can't take much of a power advantage, because now with the Core i series processor, the energy efficiency has improved on the computer. Computers takes less power. So therefore, that majority of not eyeing for thin clients, but still on the application point control, because this use Citrix, VMware, and the Microsoft terminal mode, so that you can have more security built into it, because you can lock these USB ports. So so that the data cannot be taken out by a people, staff. And since it is a small food space, it's a boxes like this, in the counters also, it doesn't occupy the space. I mean, if you try to keep a desktop, it takes a lot of space out of it, So all these things, thin client became, I mean, that's what in the syllabus they put thin clients, they became very popular. In Western countries, they became so popular and still they are using a quite a large number of thin clients. When HP, Dell, all of them also produce. But the thing is, HP, Dell doesn't like to promote thin clients because they like to promote the PCs because the PCs get obsolete after 3, 4 years, and they can sell another PC. But when you sell a thin client doesn't get obsolete that fast because it needs only the booting up machine and the net. It's all network device. So this client device doesn't get obsolete, much. Can use it for 7, 8 years.
So then the Apple the PCs, are they considered as a thin client, or it's
No,
again?
no. They are like PCs again. Apple PCs. I mean, you have desktops, you have laptops, and then you have tabs. No, still, I mean, the laptops were given to the people who is mobile, who travels, But uh, officers still like to give them a desktop if it is in a location, in a static location, because asset will not move out and all that. They think the physical security also there. Uh, so Apple also has desktop laptops and pads, not thin clients. HP Dell has thin clients. If you just Google it and see, but they are a little half-hearted to promote thin client because it's commercially it is better for them to sell PC because a PC at least in maximum 5 years time the companies will refresh. I mean the companies go for a hardware refresh now. Hardware refresh. So every for desktop, actually after 3 years, it's getting obsolete. With new operating system coming. Okay, maximum maybe 5 years you have to do a refresh. The servers you can have to do the refresh after maybe 7 years. Desktop PC ones, but mainframe and things like that can be used for even 12 years or 15 years. I mean, they are not your regular refreshing because the investment is too high, and they are also not coming out with the latest or obsolete. And normally this hardware refresh, the desktop refresh for 5 years is very important. One is not because they are getting obsolete, their processing capabilities are there, So now let's say even if, I mean, you might say, okay, now Core i5 was there, Core i7 was there for many. Now there's a generation. Wi-Fi generation 6 was, maybe 4, 5 years. Now actually Wi generation 11. I don't know whether 12 also out. So generation. So these machines are very old. Now when you're old, the performance is low. Major problem is this component will fail because these components are not designed to use for more than 5, 6, 7 years. Because you don't use that quality component in the desktops to have a lifespan because it's a waste of money because they refresh anyway, because it's getting obsolete because of the newer processors, newer memories and all that. So the components they use it is, that's what the price is also very attractive. I mean, there is a price war, so you have to use it. But any device, I mean, reliability depends, I mean, who designed that. So that's what desktops are not supposed to use it for mission critical activities, I mean, you can't use normal desktop for, even for a MRI scan, you can't connect it to a normal desktop machine. If you go to a hospital MRI scan, it's connected to a special computer. Those are reliable machines because it's a life support systems. No? So if a machine crash or desktop started rebooting, the guy is inside the MRI scanner, he might die without oxygen. You can take it up manually, but, I mean, I don't know whether the technicians will have the knowledge to take him out manually. So mission critical ones like life support system, nuclear plants, and then, hydroelectric plants and all these mission critical systems, we can't use these commercial desktops, they're not allowed. Because these machines can reboot, start, because these desktop operating systems like Windows and all are not very stable for mission critical application. So that's if you go to a hospital like MRI scan, if you just look at what is the computer, the MRI scanner comes from Siemens. The computer also Siemens produce these mission critical computers, in small quantities, Um, uh, you can call it industrial or mission critical life support system. Because it is not something you can't produce. You can produce, but what is the point of a desktop to be so reliable? So you are in a one-sided price war, and people throw out after 5 years. So why do you want to bother about increasing? So nowadays the quality comes down not because the technology is not there, because of the price war. Even a fan, so they just produce the fan for let's say 5 6 years, throw that out, you know, because after 5 6 years, the component is wear. But if you look at good old days, some of the British fans, which is there in your grandmom's house or something, they've been using for 50 years. That time there was no competition. They were just producing, product for reliability, and there's no that fast innovation happened. Now what happened is everything AI comes, even a washing machine with the AI function. So why you produce a washing machine for more than 10 years? That the technology change, energy saving come, new energy saving algorithms are coming, so that so therefore things are changing. So the component reliability they don't put it now because of competition. Second, it's a consumption economy. US economies and all are consumption. They use throughout. So that's the economy that is promoting. Whether we like it or not, that's the thing. Most of the countries are promoting. Because otherwise you don't have room for innovation. So innovators can use it if you use it, only. Okay. So then you have this network equipment, the client devices. So in the development in the late 1990s, called the thin client, uh, explicitly mimics the old mainframe and the terminal model, which I explained to you. Okay. The typical thin client consists merely a monitor, keyboard, and a small amount of embedded memory. The key is that it has no local hard drive. So thin client does not have a local hard drive. Essentially, all processing and data storage is done on the server. Just enough an application is downloaded to a client to run it. uh, I mean, I mean, it's not all thin client no local hard drive. So there is a small amount of memory is there to sometimes load the operating system. It has its own operating system, Windows embedded operating system. So sometimes you do Windows embedded OS, Windows embedded 11 is there. And some applications you can load it, but majority of them are you are actually coming from the server. So advantage of this architecture is the large amount of IT staff time and the effort to save that formally went to configuring and troubleshooting desktop machines are not there. So you don't have to go and troubleshoot the machines where the operating system is not working, this and that is not there. But the disadvantage is there must be 100% server availability for any work to be done by the user. So thin client won't work if the server is not there. But if you have a desktop, the desktop can work, standalone without even the network or the service there. So the thin client architecture has not been widely used because of the cost of hard drives has continued to steadily decrease and define predictions. So now actually thin clients are going out because the PCs become so cheap, and then hard drive costs go down, and that advantage is not there. Give me 1 minute. Okay, give me 1 minute. Sorry about it. There was a call. Any questions? No. Can we move on? I think you can tackle any question on. I think you'll have a mock exam. So that we'll look at. How you can score marks. If you require any more knowledge, I can give you. But this is sufficient. I feel. I have to just look at the questions. So data and network communication. So a protocol is set of standard message transmission along the device on the network. So we call it a protocol. Protocol is a language. Now we all can communicate in information. Now we talk in English or Sinhala or any language. So both send and the message receive both has to have in the same language, otherwise they can't understand. So the computers communicate in the protocol language. So language, as you know, that the electrical devices, the computer systems use this binary, 0 and 1. So that's only the 2 digits only can use, on or off situation. This is off, circuit is off, this is on. So this is a protocol standard, used on the devices, on or off. So binary. So binary networks, and then the networks also use language, to communicate. Now, these two computers cannot be communicated data if they don't have the same language. So sometimes you call it this IP address. So IP address. So TCP IP is the language. So every machine has 162, 158, 2.2 like that, IP address. So this is the language. I mean, if every device has a unique IP address, and TCP IP is the protocol. So that's called a network. So it consists of the network. So some question come, what is a network? Network consists of multiple connected computers at multiple locations. Computers that are electronically linked permit an organization to assemble and share transaction and other information among different physical locations. So today you can connect two different physical locations through the network. Okay, these networks are common networks types are there, Ethernet network, wide area, and local area networks, wide area. What is a local area? Local area network is within your single office. So your head office network is a local area. Your branch network, branch office, within that branch office network is again a local area network. But if the branch is connected to the head office, that's called a wide area network. So it can be within a building or within a campus premises, If a university, all the buildings are connected, still we consider that as a local area network because it's a one premises. I mean, the university campus area doesn't go beyond the public area, single organization. So the LAN is a network familiar to office workers all over the world. I mean, you are using LAN, call it a LAN, so you have a RJ45 cable, connecting to the LAN switch. And then the switch is connected to maybe the data center switch. So all your desktops and the printers are connected. I think I have explained that in a previous one. What is a LAN and what is WAN? Drop and explain. So LAN, very simple. LAN is called a peer-to-peer network. So operates without a server, file server or a mainframe computer. You don't have to have a file server or anything. You can connect peer-to-peer. So now my computer can connect it to another computer through a wire. So this is a network interface card which I showed you earlier, NIC. So I can attach a cable connecting this one. So NIC, you can remember that, I showed you, this type of NIC is there in my computer. You can connect the cable into that Ethernet port, and I connect another computer through a cable, cross cable. And this is called a cross cable because you are not using in between any device, So normal you use, this computer is and this computer you can connect to a switch, Ethernet, switch. So Ethernet switch, you can connect it. And then these two computers are connected through the Ethernet switch. And then communication happen. But you don't have to connect your personal area network. You can connect it from computer to computer. But can't connect the same cable. Huh? This is a straight cable. This is a straight cable. I mean, don't think, your patch cord or patch cable which connect your desktop to the wall outlet. You can use that cable to connect two computers. No, you have to build a cross cable. The signals are crossed. I mean, it has 8 wires. That 8 wires, if you open this one, it has 8 wires. So two pairs has to cross each other because you are not using a switch in between your connector. I mean, I don't go into that level of a detail, but peer-to-peer you can make very small networks that few devices can be connected using peer-to-peer arrangement, where all devices are directly connected to every other. So peer-to-peer networks become increasingly difficult to administer with each added device. So these are very difficult to administer. And because so many devices you can add, you can't control it. So most cost-effective and easy administrator arrangement for a LAN users is the client-server model. So this method, if you connect machines peer-to-peer, very difficult to administer. You don't know what they are copying, what they are sharing, and all that. So client-server networks are the most popular. So this is differ from the peer-to-peer network, and the devices play more specialized roles. So client processors, client is an individual user initiated by a client and request services from the server. So client server networks work like this. Okay. So there is a server computer and you are connecting to a, let's say, switch. All your computers, like desktops or laptops, switch or wireless or whatever made. So these are called clients. These are called clients, and this is a server. So server serve the clients actually. The server has all the applications. It can be emails, it can be any application, ERP application or core banking. The client are the desktops. Individual users are using, they initiate. So it can be from a small piece of software installed into the client or through the browser. I mean, in your banks, you access your core banking. It's a browser based. It's not no softwares are installed in the computer. Go to the browser and type that, and then you access load the core banking server. So this is called a client server networks, and that's what now very popular. So local area networks, a client server arrangement, servers are centrally located and devoted to functions that are needed by all network users. So servers normally you locate it at the data center, the computer room, and give power, air conditioning, UPS, and all that. Because if the server is down, no one can access. So examples include the mail servers to handle electronic mail, application servers to run the application programs, file servers to store databases and make users' inquiries more efficient, internet servers to manage access to the internet, and the web servers to host the website. All this is possible, connected. So there are multiple servers are there too in the data center, and all are connected. But even if there is a power problem in the client side, doesn't matter, only one client get affected. But servers, you have to keep it on, no? Because many clients are connecting to the servers. So whether the device is classified as a server, it is not determined by its hardware configuration, rather by a function it performs. A simple desktop can be a server. Okay. I mean, don't think always server means a special server is required. Some small application can run on the desktop, and then you can keep it as a server and all others are accessing that desktop. Actually, it acts as a server. But only thing is these desktop operating systems like Windows level, there are limitation of connectivity of the devices and security. So it's better to have a server machine with the server operating system, like Windows server. I mean, it doesn't mean that for a desktop computer or a laptop computer, you can't load the server operating system. Yes, you can load Windows Server into these machines also. if it has the right memory and the hard disk space. So technically, a client is an object that uses the resources of another object. So this a client can be either a device or software program. So client can be a device like a desktop or a laptop or a tab, or it can be a software program running on any device, like even a mobile phone can be a client. So common usage, however, client refers to a device that requests services from server. So that's a common definition. Client means client is requesting services from the server machine. This understanding of the term encompasses anything from powerful graphic workstation to smartphones. So that's what the client device, when you say client device, don't expect it is only the desktop machine. So it can be workstation, powerful workstation machine, or it can be a desktop, laptop, or it can be a tab, or it can be a smart phone also. So that's also client. Because if that application or anything installed in that machine, or if it is a browser based, you don't have to install anything. All these machines can access this server. Okay. So client defined device can be even a the smartphone. So client device normally display the user interface and enables data entry, queries, and then receipts of reports. The moreover, many applications like word processing and spreadsheet software runs on the client. Now, some of these softwares, you don't load it into the server. Now, if you have Microsoft Office, you might load it into the PC itself, your PC. I mean, you don't require a server to run. I mean, why you don't do it server? Because when you are not in the network also, you can type the documents, if you install into your desktop. So many the softwares like Adobe, sometimes the mail clients, email clients you install into the machine, like Outlook, because you don't want to have a dependencies on the server, because the mails, whatever mails has come in, it's there in the laptop or desktop. So once you connect it to the server, yes, it will come new mails, you can send the new mails. But any existing mail to search or whatever, you don't need required. So some of the applications you might load it into the desktop laptop. Is that clear, or whatever we discussed up to now, or any questions? Or am I too fast?
Clear.
Yeah. Okay. So every softwares are not installed in the server. Some softwares you might install in your desktop or a laptop machine. Now, for example, mobile apps. Now, if a bank has a mobile app, for customers as well as employees, sometimes, I mean, the bank has given some mobile apps to you for employees, like for HR mobile app, for leave applications, things like that. Or sometimes benefit administration, your claims can be done through the mobile app. I mean, then you have given some mobile services to the customers, mobile apps, like your, free me, or if it is an NTB, mobile app. So those are like things which is connecting to the server and accessing. So that app has to be downloaded from Play Store or App Store, some piece of software. So the key to the client server model is that it runs processes on the platform most appropriate that the processes while attempting to minimize traffic over the network. So client server model, you have to minimize traffic on the network. Now, let's say if you are connecting your branch, I'll take for example, a bank. Our headquarters is here. So headquarters has so many computers, so many floors, and a network. So this network is connected to the wide area network. No? And your branch, again, if you go to a branch, there are maybe 5-10 computers may be connected to a switch, and then switch to the router and connecting in the wide area network here. So these are networks. So there the traffic comes from this one. You need to minimize, because that every month you have to pay for some money for telecom or Lanka bill or any other service provider. So you need to minimize traffic on the network. again, even internal traffic also in the head office, you may have maybe 200,000 machines connecting, and there'll be network. The model is commonly referred to as a 3-tier architecture: client, application, and the database. So client, application, and the database, we make it to a 3 tiers, because of the specialized roles. The client server system often contain equipment from multiple vendors. So you get PCs from one vendor, servers from another vendor, like that you can get it. So security for client server system may be more difficult than in a highly centralized system because of the numerous access points. So client server system security is a very difficult because different vendors, different access points are there. Traffic come from various ways to the network. So it's more difficult. But 3-tier architecture, you have to develop the application and the database. So the application and the database. Sometimes they call it, this is also 3-tier. This is client, and now here you are calling client. So client, application, and DB has to be there. So sometimes you call it a client. Client if it is a web, if they're coming on the web browser, so the web internet, web or internet, and then the application and the DB. So they are in 3 tiers. 3 tiers separated, because the reason is this, okay. So anyone comes to that network, to the web tier. So they confront the web server. And then from the web server, you might give a login access. So then it goes to the application server. And then application server, if it requires, it will query the database. Every application server may not request go to the database. So if it requires, so this has to be separated 3 tiers from the firewalls, because if the database was it, because this web, anybody can, try out and hack it, because this is in the normally not a very secure zone you keep the web. So they call it a demilitarized zone, because web has to be fast. So inside this place is called militarized zone. Militarized zone. So that's what they say, a website is hacked, I mean, it's not a big thing because it's in the demilitarized zone. More secure zones are application and the database. But if you put everything into one server on a VM, there is a possibility people hacking on all three. So that's what you have to, they ask in the audit, best practices to separate. Don't put it to the single server, even on the virtual machines. Don't create into the single, then a single machine, don't put it. Even if you put it to a single machine, it has to be separate VMs, virtual machines. Okay. What do you mean by the VMs? I'll explain. So let's say you have a machine, computer, hard. This is a bare metal server. So you buy a server. Now you want to load this internet application and DB. So how do you load? This is the hardware. It has processor, memory, and all. You have to load the virtualization part. Virtualization. So VMware, or you can use Citrix or Microsoft hypervisor. So you put the virtualizer. Then you split this physical server into 3 virtual machines. Now this is a VM1. This is VM2 virtual machine. This is a VM3. So then you load the operating system. Now let's say for client application or the web runs on Linux. And then you put the web part into here. Let's say our application runs on Windows server. So then your application load into this VM. Then let's say DB. DB runs on Windows server, and the DB is Microsoft SQL. So that's the DB. So separate it into 3 virtual servers. Don't load it like this. I mean, let's say you have a single server. So this is not allowed. Okay. You load the network operating system, NOS, can be Windows, and you install all 3 as a web server, also run as a service, application also run as service, DBS service. No separation. So this is dangerous, from the security point of view. You segregated this application web and the database, that is more secure. Hope you understand. So these are the things you want to check from IT department auditors. What is our application architecture? Are we segregated? This has to be done at the design stage. Software developers has to do that. Some developers, they develop these in one serve, web and the application. Then you can't segregate. Normally, DB, you don't put it in there. A lot of companies make a mistake. Web and the application, they develop in a single software. But then it's dangerous because web is normally kept it at the demilitarized zone, not high secure zone. Application has to be kept in the high secure. Now, if web and application is developed on one application, then where you are going to keep? You have to keep it demilitarized zone, no? Outside the firewall. So then anybody can have web and application both. I mean, only DB you separated up. That's not good enough. So always they say, like, if you are doing, if it is a bank, if you are doing a payment side, you have to go for a PCI Council recommendation. So now your data centers may be PCI DSS certified, So your data centers, even central bank will tell if anything on the card data and, payment data, you are keeping it, you have to be PCI DSS certified. So when you get the auditors to do the PCI DSS certification, the first question they will ask, are you using 3-tier model? Your web application and the DBs are separated. If it is not there, they can't certify that. So you will to certify your applications. I mean, PCI DSS means it's for the data center, your server room and all that. Applications, PCI DA, PCI DA, or PCI DA. So applications. Are you all going for any of the banks you are working or in the PCI DSS certifications you are taking?
Yeah, we are going for PCI DSS.
Okay.
Is mandated also.
Mandate, yeah. So when the audit firm comes for PCI DSS, it can be CISA or there's another company control case or something. No, there are different companies. The auditors are there. So those guys will first ask this application how it is designed. So that they have to just see these controls. They have to put it here. If that is not done, they will ask the vendor to redesign in that way, web application and DB separate. So then you have metropolitan area networks. Now we are not talking too much, but in the syllabus it's there. Connect device across the urban area, for example, 2 or more office parks. So you can build up like, 2 or more office and make a metropolitan area network. City network can be a metropolitan area. The concept has limited success as a wire-based network, but it has more widely used as a microwave network. So you can build a microwave network, a metropolitan. Now let's say you are like I mean, you're spread across in a little long area. You can build a microwave network connecting it. It's called a metropolitan network now. For example, 2 camps are there, army camps, but it crossed the road and other side and this side. So they can connect these 2 buildings, 2 areas to a metropolitan network. You can't call it a LAN because it crosses the public area network, no road. So you have to connect these two buildings by microwave or something like that, because the road authority will not allow to dig the road and put your own cables. The public roads, private cables, you can't put it. So therefore, you have to use microwave. So then you can call it these two buildings are connected on metropolitan area network. So wide area means you go to a telecommunication company and get connected to your branch office. Because everyone try to build up their own wide area network, the world will be very messy. So that's what governments appoint telecommunication company or give that as a service to the customers. So you do the network, whether it can be fiber backbone or it can be wireless backbone, or if it is wired, do a clean wiring in the city. Don't make it very ugly, and you give that service to the customer, and you can charge for that service. So the customers don't have to develop their own network connecting branch offices. So I mean, 10, 15 years back in Bangladesh, if they want to connect branch to a head office, the closest branch, they give a guy the wire roll and he just put the wires across the building and, connect the branch. So when you do that, you can't maintain because somebody cut the wire, they will not operate. So that way you can't, you're illegal, So you have to go to the service provider, telecom service provider, and ask for a connectivity. Or if you want internet on a wide area network, then you go to the internet service provider. So wide area networks are publicly owned WANs, not private, such as public telephone system and internet, are available to any users with compatible devices. The assets of these networks are paid by the means of their individual imposed user fees. So there are user fees are there to use. Now, if you get an internet from a service provider, sometimes you buy the 4G router, but then you are paying for the utility every time the GBs that you downloaded. So public switch networks are the public telephone lines to carry data. So this arrangement is economical, but the quality of the data transmission cannot be guaranteed, and security is questionable. So what is the switch network? Public switch network means our telephone network is a switch network. Now let's say they have a exchange. So from that exchange, they give many connection, okay? Telephone connection. And then it connected to another exchange. Now let's say if it is Dahiwala and this is Ratmalani. And then it connects to another exchange. So that exchanges are giving connection, telephone connection. So exchanges to exchange also, there is a bunch of telephone line connecting. Okay. Now then let's say this has hypothetically maybe hundreds of thousands of lines are there. Let's say this has 3 lines. Okay, I'm just explaining. This has 3 lines. Not 3 lines, thousands of lines, he will have it. I'm just explaining. Now, let's say you want to, there are 3 phones. If these 3 phones are calling the Ratmalana number, and they will go on these 3 lines, separate line for each. But if the 4th line wanted to connect to the Ratmalana, he can't connect, he get the busy tone. Because the switch network doesn't have that switching capability to Ratmalana. With these lines, you will calculate based on the probability. At a given time, maximum this many calls can be between 2 exchanges. Because there are other exchanges also, none of these exchanges. So then they will be connecting through this wire. The problem is when you are any situation where the emergency or country, if incident happen, everyone taking and calling. So what happened? The entire network will be. So these are limitation in a public switch network. If you use this public switch network to connect those good old days, you connect through the modems, internet. So then in a telephone line, you connect the modem and then connect to the internet. What happened is when the network is busy, you can't dial and connect it to that modem. So that's the limitation. And there are a lot of security limitation also there. So privately owned WANs are profit-making enterprises. These The wide area networks are, profit-making enterprises. They offer fast, secure data communication services to organizations that do not wish to make their own large investment in infrastructure. So there are privately owned wide area networks like Dialog and all that, and they are profit-making enterprises. They can give any connection, secure, fast data communication services for a fee. Because they had raised the economy of scale so that their charges get divided among multiple people. So if you try to build your own network, it will be that costly. But there are people who build networks, like for example, a military, like forces, even Sri Lanka Army. Sri Lanka Army does not depend on any of these telecom operators like XLT or Dial. So all the base stations or the camps are connected through microwave system, army camps. Because the reason is this, in an emergency, if the telecommunication network somebody attack or something like, let's say your enemy country attack the telecommunication network, your all army station can't coordinate. So army stations all are connected through the army forces, everything, base stations, bases are connected through private micro area. Then other one is I can remember in Sri Lanka, all our, electrical network, like the generation plants. The generation plant also connected through their private network, They don't use SLT or dial-up to connect because every call need to be recorded. I was involved in sometimes that communication long time back, 20, 30 years back. I connected some of the major power stations to data communication through when I was at a company called Computer Land Group. This in 1990. I was a datacom engineer at that time. My first job after passing out from the Morato University. So I used to go to CB and connect the barge and, some of these, generation plant from Samanala and all, Victoria and all that. It's a private line. And the part of it, they use this high tension line to communicate from this, high tension wire, the electrical wire to communicate. But then other part, yes, we have multiplexes and all that, we extract the data. But the barge, the ports, you have a ship that generating electricity. I don't know whether that is there now. That they have drawn up a fiber cable from a private fiber cable. And then through SLT, they took that fiber cable to them. And then we connected. So this way connected, but that's expensive. But those critical infrastructures, they make their private wide area network, because of because every power plant, when they shut down, the call or message that the instruction given has to be recorded because it can be sabotage. So CID investigate if there is a issue happens, so that's what it has to be. Normal telephones, they don't use it because this is always getting recorded. And second, even telecommunication infrastructure breakdown will not affect this one. So there are value-added networks. WANs, VANs are private networks that provide their customers with a reliable, high-speed, secure transmission of data. To compete with the internet, these third-party networks add value by providing their customers with error detection and correction services, electronic mailbox facility for EDI purposes. What do you mean by EDI? Electronic data interchange. I explained to you that EDI. So EDI protocol is used for connect the business computers like ERP software, enterprise resource planning software. Use EDI protocol for business documents. Business documents all sent through EDI protocol. Now, let's say if Toyota sends a purchase order to his supplier through his ERP software, but supplier will have a different ERP software. Let's say SAP is used by Toyota. Oracle ERP may be used by his supplier. Now, SAP to Oracle, when they send the purchase order, how does the Oracle identify that is a purchase order? That is why we have developed this EDI network, common EDI network. So that business document can be communicated, purchase orders, invoices, at the, delivery notes, AODs, things like that, all related business documents can be communicated through EDI. The wide area network under, we get the VPNs, virtual private network. So the relatively inexpensive way to solve the problem of high cost of lease lines. So earlier what happened, when you want to connect your headquarters to branch, you use the leased line. Leased line. It's a dedicated line you use. You ask for a telecommunication company to give me a dedicated line. But now we have virtual private network. So that means SLT, let's say SLT has a big pipe, now let's say if it is a ring is there, SLT fiber ring. So fiber ring. And that is connected in like a spokes, Now let's say this is your headquarters, HQ. Your branch is here. Now you don't ask a dedicated circuit, What you ask for a shared service, to the branch. So shared service means you will tell, okay, I'm not going to use your entire fiber ring back bandwidth. You give me a 512 kilobits per second link. Share. But that 512 kbps, I should get it. It should not go down or up. I'm okay with 512 or 1 MB. So that's called a virtual private network. So early it was one copper circuit or a fiber circuit is allocated for that. It's called a lease line. So lease lines are expensive. Now, because of VPNs, you can connect your branches at much more cheaper. I think probably you must be paying a month about 30,000 rupees or whatever for a branch. Each branch connected 30 or 50. I don't know what is now new price. But earlier it was not possible to get it at that price. So a company connects each office or LAN to a local internet service provider or routes data through the shared low-cost public internet. The success of VPNs depends on the development of source encryption products that product data while in transit. Okay. So then you get the private branch exchange, PBX, a specialized computer used for both voice and data traffic. So you can, this PABX, public private branch exchange, PBX. So PBX can be used for voice and data. Now they are not using, PBX and all that is now concepts are gone. So data also you can send on the PABX. So PABX can switch digital data among computers and office equipment like printer, copy, fax machine. So PBX uses a telephone line so that the data transmission capacity is limited. So telephone lines you can't send maximum 2 Mbps or whatever, you can't do that. So distributed network connects multiple computers for communication and data transmission and enables each connected computer to process its own data. So now, you having understood about different networks, now let's look at the how do we want to classify these networks, local area, wide area by protocols. I told you protocol is a language, So as previously stated, protocol is a set of standard for message transmission. That's a language from a device on the network. So now let's look at what are the local area network protocols. So most popular local area network protocol is Ethernet. So Ether means in Latin space. Net means network. Ether. Ether is a Latin word. Ether means space. So we know ethanol. So ether is space. Ethanol means if you keep the ethanol bottle open, it's evaporate. No? So it goes to the space. So space networking is called Ethernet. So this has been a most successful protocol for LAN transmission. The Ethernet design break up the flow of data between devices into a discrete group of data called frames. So we send it through the frames. So Ethernet is described as following polite conversation methods of communicating. So each device listens to the network to determine whether another conversation is taking place. That is whether the network is busy moving another device message. So when the network is determined to be free to traffic, the device send this message. So that's called Ethernet. So if I just explain this in a little detail, now you might ask, okay, how we are going to send the packets? So now let's say if this computer, and there are 3 computers, if they are connected to the switch, so good old days, they are listening to that network. So if no one is sending the data, they send the data on this pipe to this computer. So then this computer will not send the data to the other computers because they listen and they see, okay, there's a data going on. So the switch will tell, okay, there's a data. But now that problem is not there because now you have full duplex. You can send this way and that way the data. Earlier it was half duplex, only one way. So, but there's a listening, always listening to the network and see. Because what happens if you are sending the data, if it is not full duplex, both sides, if you can't send it, if it is a half duplex. Earlier networks were like half duplex. So it's like you have a railway line, Now, if you have only one line, you have this, okay. Now you are sending a train, okay. Many packets, no? So like you have an engine and then the compartment. And on the other side also, you send the train, like a data stream. You have an engine and the header and the message. And these two will collide. Now you might ask, what is a train? Because these signals are going in ones and zeros. No? So voltages. And this side also you send the voltage. And when they collide, there will be superimposed voltage here going. So that's called collision. The earlier networks was collision because it has only one track. Now new method of Ethernet, it has like a railway 2 tracks. So people going on this direction, coming on this direction. So same cable you can on a 2 tracks. So now you don't have to wait for listing and all that. You can just the full duplex we call it. Earlier it was same. Otherwise messages collide each other. And then error happen, then again retransmit. So Ethernet actually use this retransmission method. Even if there's a collision, then you observe there's a collision, that means my packet has not gone. And then I have to send it again. I mean, then how do you know whether your packet got this thing? So that is what they have decided the train in such a way that now this is, let's say, one PC, this is like a station, okay? And the other station is this, okay? So this is the railway part, okay? Now, how does, now this is a B station, this is a A station. I send the train from A station. And now these two trains has collide here, okay? And then the signal comes to me and that. How do I know which packet got collide? Because after I send this train, I might have sent another train. I don't know which train has got collide. No? So to avoid that, what happened, there is a long train. So this train can go to B, till B send anybody else. So now let's say if B send again, so B tail or still there in the station. Okay, A tail is there in the station. So if this collision happen, both station get to know that my packet got collide. So I have to retransmit it. Okay. So that is what this Ethernet network has a maximum distance, maximum. It was earlier on copper 180 meters. Then it has increased to fiber. Now kilometers it's supposed, I think 2 kilometers or, something is up. So local area networks, you can have now larger networks because these trains size, the number of packet has increased. to identify the collision. You don't have to know about these things, if you know this, that is enough. You know what is there in the text. The switch networks, as described on page 10, in a
Sanjay,
LAN.
shall we have a break?
Yes, sorry about it. We are just going. 15 minutes break we'll have. Now it's, now the time is, 8:20. So we'll come up at 8:35, okay?